Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking about Territe investment, where you should be using your Territe on your character. We're going to be talking about familiars, equipment, crafting, what the priorities should be for different stages of play. So let's go ahead and dig in. So a lot of people come to me with the question, Diggs, I need 1600 Territe. Where can I get it? Where can I farm it? And that's part of the reason my Territe farm videos are so popular, right? However, I think nobody in this game, unless you're a higher level, you guys, is in dire need of 1600 Territe right this second. I think a lot of people don't focus their Territe spending. They level up their familiars and they have like 10 5-star familiars, and they say, oh gosh, I'm gonna need 1600 Territe in order to evolve all of my familiars. What am I going to do? That's so much Territe. I can only farm 200 per day, right? But the reality is those familiars should not even be a priority for your Territe. The reality is you should be focusing your Territe in a completely separate direction in order to optimize the CP gain for your character. So where would I recommend you spend that Territe? Where is it going to be best invested? And for new players, I would say you probably want to invest your Territe in crafting. Don't necessarily invest all of your Territe into upgrading 3-star gear, even upgrading 4-star gear. Don't upgrade, don't enhance, don't evolve your familiars until you have an understanding of the Territe system and until you have 4-star weapons and armor. I think crafting is so important, especially for new players, because that is going to give you the baseline. I would actually say if you can make it to level 40 without upgrading your 3-star gear, without enhancing past plus 10, I would recommend doing that, because at level 40 you get a 4-star selector box. You're going to have a pretty good spread of equipment, and that's when you can start really kind of siphoning your resources into the right place. So the first thing I would recommend, get 4-star equipment from crafting. Make sure you do that. It's going to be important, because if you invest your Territe into 3-star equipment, in the long run, you are just going to end up probably desynthesizing that equipment and getting rid of it. Now, you're in a situation where you have multiple 4-star pieces of gear. You have some familiars that are maxed out at 4-star, and you're like, oh, should I evolve familiars or should I focus on my gear? I would encourage you to focus on your gear. The one exception where I would say it's okay to focus on familiars, which we'll get into later, is if you are already a competitive free-to-play player and you are being competitive in familiar arena. I think that's the only justifiable evolution expenditure for you to go from potentially 5-star to 6-star and focus on your familiars. Now, upgrading and enhancing. What do they do? Why are they so important? Why are we talking about them? And why is there priority for Territe associated with them? So let's talk about what upgrading does first. So let's go ahead and go to upgrade, and I have 2 pieces of gear. You can't see them because they're behind my webcam, but I have Berserker gloves and I have the Mystic helmet. Now, upgrading is going to increase the star level of your piece of gear. So for my Berserker gloves, they would go from being a 5-star to a 6-star. My helmet would also go from being a 5-star to a 6-star. Now, when you upgrade a piece of gear, it also increases the level cap for that piece of gear. And so when you level up gear, you also get stats for all of the stats on the piece of gear. So just to give you an example right now of stat priority, I prioritize accuracy on my rogue. The helmet is going to give HP and accuracy. Upgrading the helmet is going to give me HP and accuracy when I level it up, right? The gloves give HP and crit. I am not necessarily a crit focused build, so I am not going to upgrade my gloves right away because I don't need to build up the crit for my character, right? So for that reason, the helmet would be a better upgrade for the future. Now, in terms of enhancement, if we take a look at enhancement, if we take a look at the same gloves, you're going to notice that HP is the primary stat on the gloves, and when I enhance a piece of gear, the primary stat is affected. So for the gloves, it's going to be HP, and for the helmet, it is also going to be HP. And for a lot of you, this might be clicking right now why the helmet is the last piece of gear that I chose to enhance, right? Because I don't want to be investing my Territe, investing my resources into getting more HP for my character. I want to be investing in focusing on attack, in focusing on accuracy, in focusing on accessories like the necklace that gives the best stats in the game, right? So there is a priority, and enhancement is always going to focus on the main stat, right? So for that reason, there is an enhancement priority, and I would say the biggest enhancement priority is going to be 4-star weapons. So that's going to be your weapons that are going to increase in attack as you do enhance them. You'll see here the difference in attack between going from plus 16 to plus 17 is going to be about 100 attack. I have a 35% chance, and it takes 20 Territe. Now, if I were to upgrade this weapon, I would get another 30 levels on it, but I would probably not get nearly as much of an attack boost from leveling it as I would if I maybe enhanced it twice. So let's go ahead and see what the upgrade cost on this weapon is. The upgrade cost is going to be 200 Territe. So that means I would get 10 attempts at enhancement for increasing the attack on the weapon versus just increasing the star level on the weapon and increasing the attack from levels that I would get from it, right? You also have to consider that investing in levels is going to give you, potentially a huge gold sink, especially when you are going from 5-star to 6-star. So for right now, enhancing is a no-brainer, and enhancing on weapons should be the priority. The other gear that should be your priority for enhancing, and again, I think outside of crafting, enhancing these specific pieces of gear are probably going to be your priority, would be the necklace. Now, the reason the necklace is such a priority is that its primary stat, very similar to the weapons, is attack, but you wear the necklace on all of your characters, on all of your builds, on all of your kits. So the necklace is one of the most important pieces of gear to enhance in the game. It also gives accuracy, it also gives crit. So what that means is we also want to upgrade it. It should have upgrade priority, very similar to our weapons, right? Because it's going to give us more accuracy, and it's also going to give us more crit, and it's going to give us more attack, right? So across the broad range, it's going to give us much more than if I had simply invested that Territe into Awakening Gloves to give me HP, right? Or sorry, I'm mixing up the terms now. It's going to give me a lot more than if I had upgraded the gloves and gotten just like crit and HP from them, or if I had enhanced the gloves and just gotten, HP from the enhancement on the gloves. So there is a very clear priority for equipment that you should prioritize. Rings are the same way, and so are earrings, actually. Earrings actually give HP as the primary stat, so enhancement is not optimal, right? But they give accuracy and critical resist in the secondary stat. So basically, all accessories, the priority should be given to enhancing and to upgrading. Very similar to weapons. You're kind of going to want to prioritize these, and you're going to want to prioritize your weapons. There is something to be said as well for prioritizing the enhancements on pieces of gear for secondary stats that are really powerful for you, because when you do hit level 20 enhancement, you do get access to cursing, which will give you a raw 20% bonus to all stats on that piece of gear when you do get it to plus 21. So for example, a necklace that has accuracy, crit, and it has attack on it is going to be very powerful when it gets cursed. It's arguably going to give you more stats, right? So when you're looking at, you have ring, you have necklace, you have earrings, right? And you're like, okay, which one should be the enhancement focus, right? Which one should I put my Territe into? You should put your Territe into necklace all of the way. All of the way. You should try to get it to plus 20 as soon as possible, because you do want to get to that cursing. You do want to get to that optimal stat growth. and you do want to do that. And they all share the same enhancement material, unlike weapons, so it's very important to prioritize. Very similar with armor, right? If you are doing armor, you're going to want to prioritize stats that are important to you and to your character, and that's going to be prioritizing the main stats. So for me on my rogue, I did defense first, which was my body armor, and I did defense on my feet, which also had evasion as a secondary stat, which gets enhanced. What I should have done, candidly, is I should have focused helmet first. I should have gotten my accurate, because I would get, you only get HP from the helmet, but when it gets cursed, I would get more accuracy, so you got to kind of think about that as well. But I do think for most players, they'll benefit from doing probably feet and body, and then just upgrading the helmet and getting most of your accuracy that way first. All right, everybody, that was a bit of a mouthful. I hope that's clear for a lot of you. If it's not, feel free to ask questions down below. We didn't talk about awakening at all because awakening does not involve Territe. However, it does increase the stats on your piece of gear and can be one of the biggest influencers of stats on your gear. So for example, it may be better to run a piece of gear to plus 21 that's a 4-star, that's not a rare 4-star, because you're going to have multiple copies and multiple awakened copies. But this video is about Territe, so we are going to finish talking about it. Finally, we do have familiars to discuss, and familiars are an interesting thing because I think people get too Territe happy with their familiars. I candidly think familiars are one of the worst investments for Territe when you are looking at evolution. Why do I think that? Well, for most people, they're going to be able to evolve their familiars from 4-star to 5-star, and that's going to moderately increase the stats on your familiars. It's, you know, you're going to be able to level them up, you're going to be able to invest in them. But once you get to 5-star to 6-star, it costs 200 Territe, and a lot of people get really gung-ho happy, right? They're like, I'm going to invest my Territe, I'm going to enhance my familiar. I have 5 familiars at 5-star maxed out. I need 1,000 Territe. I need to max out these familiars. Do not max these familiars. Do not evolve these familiars, everybody. I understand there's a codex buff associated with it, but honestly, if I can't level up all of my 6-star familiars, look at this. Look at all of these familiars I have that I evolved from 5-star to 6-star that I literally have at level 1. I have one familiar out of all of my 6-star familiars that I use on all of my builds that is literally level 30. The amount of beans that you get does not add up yet for you to max out a 5-star to 6-star familiar. Like 6-star familiars require so much familiar EXP. You're gonna use that Territe, you're gonna get a small stat boost from the evolution process, and then you're just gonna get hammered. If you're looking at overall increasing your CP, investing in a weapon, investing on enhancements, investing in potentially upgrades on another piece of gear is going to do a lot more for you than potentially getting your Draggle from 5-star to 6-star, right? And your Draggle is only used in your fire build, and so it's only going to buff your CP in one of your builds, right? Out of the 6 builds that you should have, right? Because you should have 5 elemental builds, a PvP build, right? So you're only buffing 1/6 of your potential power by evolving a familiar. Now, that being said, the one exception to this, and again, most of you probably know who you are, is if you are going to be competitive free-to-play or if you are competitive familiar arena. If you are someone that wants to hold on to your familiar arena ranking because you are getting Asterite, 100%. Those 10 levels, that evolution could be the reason that you get that Asterite weekly, and that could be a really big deal, right? But even then, you're going to be one of those players that knows to prioritize those 5 familiars that you're using. You're going to know to do that, and most of the time you're not going to need me to tell you that. Now, enhancing familiars with gummies, I prioritize my gummy enhancement on my 5 familiars in familiar arena. Most of them happen to be my strongest familiars and my familiars that I would use as a default in, for example, PvP, or if I'm just looking to maximize my CP. I do think gummies are worth it. I think you spend them wisely, invest them wisely, and they will pay you back in dividends. And it does seem like the stat increase on gummies increases as you go up with gummies invested on a unit. I'm not sure what that looks like fully, but I do think for 1 Territe per gummy, it is a worthwhile investment. You also don't get a ton of gummies. So you're not going to have like, oh, I have 400 gummies I need to invest and lose 400 Territe. I wish that would happen. It's never going to happen. Anyway, everybody, I feel like we're at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys all had a great rest of your day.